Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dual Strike of Ambidexterity Antiquarian. Sounds a bit odd. Let me explain what's going on. First of all, I have 3 different variations of the build. Number 1 is to help you out leveling. Spoiler alert, just use Sunder. It's by far the best way to level a Marauder. Second is when you first swap over to Dual Strike, so it's just, less passive tree, only 1 cluster jewel, etc. Also, only the necessary items. Furthermore, I have more information in the Notes tab in the top left based on leveling, and then, of course, swapping over, like the purchase order you should make for the items, etc., etc. And the reason why we choose Antiquarian is because of these 2 nodes right here, Calgarin Armor and Starlight Reflector. Basically, you get a lot of flat ward from Calgarin Armor, just converts the armor and evasion from your body armor into flat ward instead, and then Starlight Reflector gives you a butt-ton % increased ward. It does count as a global defense, so this 100% increased global defenses essentially doubles the existing ward on your character. Also, the 100% faster restoration is very nice as well. Normally, when ward fully breaks, it takes 2 seconds to fully recover. Now it only takes 1 second. Very nice. At first, Antiquarian was not on my radar until GGG released the small nodes. So these are big ascendancy nodes. The small ones are right here, right? The small nodes for the Antiquarian, the very last line, Antiquarian gets 10% increased global defenses for every single one of these small nodes as well. So this node right here, the ascendancy node, Starlight Reflector, 100% increased. Yeah, these small nodes give you 10% of that value. That's pretty dang good. So by default, if you're taking these nodes, you get obviously, 20% there. Then we're going to go Lionize Hair as well for this build. You get an extra 30% here. And actually, the final plan is to not take another big ascendancy node like one of these or that. You're just going to take this small ascendancy node and this small ascendancy node to give us a total of an extra 50% increased global defenses. So how this build is going to work is, number 1, the Antiquarian nodes, as you just saw, and number 2, getting a very, very, very good chess piece. This is actually not that good of a chess piece. You can definitely get a much better one depending on your budget, but this is a pretty decent one, I would say. That 2,500 armor, 2,500 evasion, essentially that turns into 5,000 flat ward. But remember, at first, we're only converting 50% of that. So for the other 50%, we're using the Nyenda's Stand studded belt, which has the exact same line, gain ward instead of 50% of the armor and evasion from equipped body armor. So we are converting 100% of only our body armor's armor and evasion over into ward instead. You can see 2,500 plus 2,500 is 5,000. So we're essentially getting 5,000 flat ward from our body armor because of this belt and the ascendancy node. Furthermore, we are going to use Night Grip. These are gloves which say you gain added chaos damage equal to 10% of your ward. If you look at our build right now, we're currently sitting at, just 13,000 ward. So this gives us 1,300 flat chaos damage. You can see if we take off these gloves, it would give us, just a little bit of 95% less damage in the build. So you can see this concept is kind of similar to a strength stacker with replica Alberons, where you gain added chaos damage based on your strength. Instead of the strength, we're simply using our ward. Now, I'm not going to break down absolutely everything with this build and why it works the way it does, but I will explain a couple things, such as the Keystone Supreme Ostentation. Now, the reason why we are running this Keystone is because of Lionize Hair right here. Your hits can't be evaded is very powerful. You basically can just ignore accuracy rating on your gear and your passive tree entirely, but 50% reduced dexterity is quite the potent downside, especially for a build that is running Dual Strike of Ambidexterity. Now, given high enough investment, obviously you can just drop this Keystone entirely and just get a bunch of dex on your amulet, your rings, your helmet, your boots, your gloves. You're probably going to need dex literally everywhere, or not you gloves because you're using the unique gloves, but you know what I'm saying. But I think the easy workaround here is just running this Keystone, which is why we're fitting it in, just to avoid that 50% reduced dexterity downside. Also, we are using Forbidden Flesh and Flame to steal Tukahama War's Herald. You don't need to do this. However, it is pretty nice. Level 30 Ancestral Call gives you 10% more damage, and it gives you 2 extra guys that are attacking for you, so it's going to help your map clear quite a bit. That's definitely not necessary whatsoever. It's just, factored into the build because this is a very cheap Ascendancy node. No one cares about this one. So as soon as these pop on the market, Forbidden Flesh Flame, you can probably buy them for very, very cheap. Other than that, we are using Paradoxica as our main weapon because why wouldn't you? In the initial swap setup, or you can call this the budget setup, we're using Frost Breath instead because it has basically the exact same line. We're using Skitterbots because we don't really have as many things to preserve our mana with, so we might as well run Skitterbots. So we're getting Guaranteed Shock, Guaranteed Chill, so it does actually proc the double damage of Frost Breath 24/7, which is quite nice. But for the in-game setup, obviously you want to go for a Paradoxica because it's just better. Then for our offhand, in both setups, you're going to use a Claw with as much attack speed and critical strike multiplier as possible. The reason why this matters a bunch is because Dual Strike of Ambidexterity does all of the damage basically from the main hand weapon and uses all of the attack speed of the offhand weapon. So your offhand weapon is essentially just a stat stick. So that's why you just want attack speed and as much critical strike multiplier as possible. Then for the rest of the gear, it's really just life resistances. You also will need a little bit of spell suppress. I think it's 23% with the current passive tree. You're sitting at 77% if you use this passive tree. So you just need a tiny bit from your other gear. You have your body armor, your helmet, and your boots to find spell suppress on, so it shouldn't be that hard. Also, another very important thing, if you have not played a melee build before in Path of Exile 1, this crafted modifier, non-channeling skills have -2 total mana cost, is extremely important for the overall feeling of the build. Now, you can get away with having just one of these crafted mods, but ideally you want two. So I have one on the ring and one on my amulet here. It's not like 100% required, but it's like 99%. The build's gonna feel way different without that reduced mana cost. And then finally here, I'm choosing to run Anathema because the claw here, you can get a crafted modifier, trigger a socketed spell when you use a skill. So inside of this, we are using 2 extra curses because we're dealing all chaos damage. Despair is very powerful. You see if I toggle off Despair, we lose about 10 million damage, or about a third of our overall damage. Then also Enfeeble is a very, very powerful curse for our defenses. You can see here my max hit goes from 24k fizz to almost 30k. So pretty much a no-brainer choice if you can choose it. That's why I'm going with Anathema. So it gives me, 30% damage and, roughly 15% tankiness, survivability. But again, that is contingent on getting that crafted modifier, trigger a socketed spell. Without that, you're just not going to want to run the Anathema. And yeah, that's pretty much it with the build. Only other thing are the cluster jewels. These are absolutely not required, but Feed the Fury, Quick and Deadly are 2 very, very good nodes. If you did not know, Quick and Deadly, this is essentially the same node as Ambidexterity on the regular passive tree. 60% increased damage with the main hand, 30% increased attack speed. That is literally perfect for Dual Strike of Ambidexterity. No pun intended, right? The name of the passive is called Ambidexterity, and the skill is Dual Strike of Ambidexterity. So you're going to want to take it, right? So this is a very, very, very powerful node. You see if I unallocate this node alone, it gives me -20% damage. 20% of my overall damage is from one singular node. That's absolutely disgusting. So ideally, you want 2 cluster jewels. You don't need Feed the Fury. You can also get Fuel the Fight, which is mana leech, and it should be a little bit easier to get this. The weighting is higher, but Quick and Deadly is like super, super, super good. So yeah, this is more than likely my build that I'm going to be playing for the Legacy of Phrecia. I'm gonna theory craft a few more things here and there, but this looks very, very, very strong numerically. I already know the playstyle works perfectly because I've run a Dual Strike of Ambidexterity builds before. It just looks like it's a fun twist. Instead of strength stacking, you're doing ward stacking instead. So hope you guys enjoyed watching. You can check out my stream at twitch.tv/Woolie Gaming. Actually, you can see chat here. Hey, look, Omnikush. Oh, he's pog. Oh. All right, go ahead. Give him a fart. One fart. Just one singular fart. That's all you get, gentlemen. Okay, that works.
I'm not a big fan of the government. 30.
Oh, that was more than one. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Check out my stream at twitch.tv/Woolie Gaming. I'll be live streaming the Legacy of Phrecia event and more than likely playing this exact build. So come by, ask some questions, just hang out, chill. I'll see you there, boys. Thanks for watching. Peace.